I'd have to say in a lot of ways I wasn't really a martial artist until I was forced by life to take personal responsibility for my art. What had happened was I started training in 1970, and I was training really hard, and my wife and I had gotten married, and I was training really hard, and my wife and I weren't planning to have children until we'd been married about 5 or 6 years, but after we'd been married about 6 months is when, she got that flu, the one where you only throw up in the morning. And we were stunned. We had no idea. I mean, it never even crossed our mind that she might be pregnant, but there it was. And so we ended up having our firstborn, our son, 6 years before we were sort of planning to do that. And all of a sudden, there was family, there was life, right? So I couldn't really go to the dojo much anymore, just occasionally. I had to find space and time to train, which became increasingly difficult. I tried to squeeze in training between classes in college. I was working also a job, so I was going to college full-time, and I was working in a factory full-time. And after work sometimes, myself and a couple other guys who were not from my karate school, but were also martial artists, we would get together. One of them had the key to his karate school. In the middle of the night, 2 in the morning, there we are pounding on each other and bleeding and practicing and training. And this just continued. It was just constantly trying to figure out how to do this. When I could get together with people, I did, but a lot of times I was in a position where I had to take personal responsibility for my own training. I mention this because people keep telling me that I'm one of the best martial artists, practitioners, and also one of the best martial arts teachers that they've run across. And I always find this a little off-putting when they say that, but I'm not in a position to judge that because I don't get to see myself from the outside. I only get to see myself from the inside. By the way, the view from in here, completely ordinary. But the view from the outside, people tell me, totally different. Now, how did that happen? Well, it's because the learning process is a process, ultimately, of taking responsibility for your training. I'm not saying that you should leave your school so that you can become, really great. That would be stupid. But I am saying that if all you do training is train in your dojo, then you will never learn. You will always get only so far and stop because you will always be waiting for your teacher to tell you what to do. Always waiting for your teacher to tell you what to do. Your teacher will have to come and say, oh, you need to adjust this. Oh, yes, sensei. Yes, shifu. You're waiting for someone else. Someone else becomes responsible for what you learn and when you learn it, instead of you. So you're in the dojo, you have to take responsibility for your own training. By the way, this can be a problem because as I began to study on my own, I noticed certain things about how the body moved which seemed to be slightly contradictory to what I was being told. And then when I would go to the dojo and try to do this stuff I was working on my own, I would get yelled at. That's not the way to do it. So it can create some friction and some tension, but it's still really, really critical. So find a way to be responsible for your own training, not just what you get in the dojo. Do your own training too. Second, find a dojo where you're allowed to explore, where nobody freaks out if you have discovered something or are trying something out that the teacher doesn't teach or that's not quote unquote the right way. Be in a place where it's okay to explore that. And seek a teacher who can actually convincingly explain to you if it's wrong, why it's wrong. Or it might not be wrong, it might not be the best way. If the teacher insists that the way that's done in their school is the best way, that teacher better be able to explain why. Not just say that's not the correct way to do it, but actually here's why, here's what's happening, here's all of the details that make this the correct way. Find that kind of a school. If you do those two things, maybe you'll be someday the one looking around going, wow, how come everyone calls me Grandmaster? When did that happen? How did that happen? I'm Chris Thomas, and these are some reflections from the masterclass. Thanks for watching. Now, go train.